Hello, everybody. Are Keir Starmer's days in number 10 numbered? Well, I certainly hope so. And it seems that some chaos and infighting has broken out within the Labour Party behind the scenes this week, which is the culmination of lots of unhappiness with Keir Starmer in general, which has been building and growing in the Labour Party for a long time. I certainly hope and pray that they all descend into fighting each other and that they get rid of Starmer and that we then get a general election, because this government, this regime is absolutely disastrous. They have attacked and made life a misery for huge numbers of groups in this country. First of all, pensioners, taking away the winter fuel payment, which is given to everybody. It's only everyone who's a pensioner is only a very small amount of money, but they've taken it away from most pensioners, as well as attacking private schools with VAT, businesses with huge extra taxes that they can't pay for in employers, national insurance. This insane waste of money on migrant hotels, on net zero, on climate capture, which is complete scientific nonsense, as well as spaffing billions out of the door on wars like the war in Ukraine, which hardly anyone supports. I mean, I didn't initially, but now, after 4 years, the vast majority of the country does not want to prolong this war and see more people be killed there with British taxpayers' money. That's absolutely outrageous, and it shouldn't be happening. Oh, we shouldn't be funding death around the world. But that's typical. I mean, that's just, mirrors what the Starmer regime is. So what's been happening here? Apparently, number 10. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean Keir Starmer, but it will mean people that he's employed, like his Morgan McSweeney, who's this spin doctor seemingly around Keir Starmer in the background, tries to keep a low profile, but does similar to what Alistair Campbell did for Tony Blair. Now, he seems to, it's not necessarily him, but him or one of the people in Downing Street seems to have been briefing against some of the ministers of state that Keir Starmer himself has appointed. So someone in number 10 has been briefing against Wes Streeting. Now, then Wes Streeting comes and this is a headline today from the Telegraph. Streeting goes to war with number 10, hitting out at a toxic culture after being accused of plotting against the Prime Minister. So this is not necessarily against Keir Starmer himself, but it will be against some people that he has appointed in number 10. We don't know, but apparently there was some people briefing that he is plotting a coup against Keir Starmer. Now, whether that's true or not, again, I don't know. He's an ambitious person. He is a very clever and intelligent person. I don't think he's a very nice person. Look at some of the tweets and posts he's put out from a few years ago before he was in government. You'll see. But there you go. There's no question that he is an intelligent person, unlike most of the other people in the government. I mean, you think of David Lammy, you think of he's a few sandwiches short of a picnic. You think of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, who clearly is way out of her depth and doesn't, know much about numbers, which means that she's not very good to be in charge of the nation's economy and the government's budget. It's an absolute disaster. The other person who is quite intelligent in the government and also very frightening is Shabana Mahmood. And it's said that he who wields the knife doesn't get to wear the crown. So it may be that Wes Streeting is wielding the knife, although he denies it. And then if he does, Shabana Mahmood might step up to take the crown. Who knows? But another possibility is there, and this is also from the Daily Mail today. Allies of Sir Keir Starmer warn coup plotters if they oust the PM, it will trigger a general election that would see the party annihilated. Now, the basic thesis of this article, if you read it, is that if there is a new leader, they would be obligated to call a general election because they won't have their own mandate. So, like Theresa May, won the electoral contest to be the leader of the Tory party and therefore the Prime Minister after David Cameron stood down in June 2016 after the Brexit referendum. She won that contest. Well, actually, she won it uncontested, actually, in a couple of months later. All the other candidates pulled out. And she went to the polls about 6 months, 7 months later. She felt she didn't have her own mandate, so she was in post as Prime Minister for 6 months. And then she went and called an election in the spring of 2017. So they're suggesting that if someone does manage to orchestrate the coup, get Starmer out, and then win a contest or win or be crowned, just essentially have a coronation where everyone in the Labour Party, says, okay, we're going to have this person as leader, and they don't have a contest, whether that's Wes Streeting, Shabana Mahmood, or somebody else. People talk about Andy Burnham, but he's basically stuck as Mayor of Manchester. He's not an MP, so he couldn't go for it. Sadiq Khan as well. I think he's ambitious, but he can't go for it because he's stuck as the Mayor of London. He's not an MP. So those two are out of the question. But, one of the things they're saying is, okay, this person, if they do and someone does take over, then they will be obligated. They should call a general election, but there's no actual legal obligation for them to do that. Like Rishi Sunak, he actually lost the election contest against Liz Truss, but orchestrated a coup against her, and he was the loser of the contest amongst the Tory members to be the Tory leader. When was that? Back in 2022, I think. 2021, 2022. 2022, sorry. Summer of 2022, he became the leader. No, Liz Truss became the leader. Sorry, Tories have had so many leaders. Liz Truss became the leader after Boris Johnson stepped down in 2022. And then she was in post for just 47 days, and then Rishi Sunak orchestrated a coup against her, but he stayed as Prime Minister for, I think it was a year and a half or 2.5 years. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit fuzzy on whether that was 2021 or 2022. I'll have to look that up. But he was certainly Prime Minister for a lot longer than he should have been. When he didn't hold a general election. He just held on until the election in 2024. So he was there for a year and a half, I think, as Prime Minister without year and a half or 2.5 years as Prime Minister is a long time. So the point is, whoever becomes leader of the Labour Party, they may not hold a general election. But there are two other possibilities. One is that Keir Starmer will just go scorched earth and say, well, if you get rid of me, I'm going to call a general election before I go. And he could just go to the king at any time and say, well, I want to call a general election now. And he wouldn't need any permission from his MPs or ministers or government to do that. He can just go whenever he wants and ask the king to dissolve parliament and call a general election. And, the king, by precedent, would almost certainly do that. So that would be scorched earth. If he would be so outraged that anyone who instigates a coup against him would say, well, stuff you. You're not going to be Prime Minister after kicking me out and orchestrating a coup. I'm just calling a general election while I'm still here. So he could do that. And that would be quite glorious, because they would just all be fighting themselves and they would sink in their own swamp. And let's hope that happens. The other possibility, which is less likely, but also possible, is the king could just dissolve parliament when he wants, because he has that power. Now, no king, no queen, no monarch has ever done that, but he could just dissolve Parliament and call a general election of his own volition, even if Keir Starmer doesn't ask. And if he sees things getting so bad, things going to the dogs in the country, well, I don't know, because the king we've got at the moment seems to be allegiant to the World Economic Forum, to globalist powers, and obviously Keir Starmer is very much on the side of all the globalists and all the climate nonsense, the woke nonsense, the immigration, the mass replacement immigration is going on. So I very much doubt the king would do that, but it's possible, but there's only a very small probability of that happening. More likely that Keir Starmer will just go, well, stuff you, I'm having a general election. So you, Wes Streeting or Shabana Mahmood, hypothetically, of course, if they did orchestrate a coup, they wouldn't actually become prime minister because there'd be a general election and then everything would be up for the voters to decide again. And of course, I'm leading the Heritage Party, and we will stand as many candidates as we possibly can to properly restore our nation based on good, socially conservative Christian principles, which our policies are built on in our manifesto. You can have a look at that and join us as well as a member, and even put yourself forward to be a candidate at heritageparty.org. So please do have a look at that. And it's very, very interesting. And let's hope that the Labour Party just implodes. I very much look forward to that happening. Let's hope so. And we shall see over the next few days and weeks. Thanks for listening, everyone. God bless you all.